Welcome to the Madison Millard Podcast. Today is Monday, January 11th, 2021. Today I'm going to recap the NFL Super Wild Card Weekend and talk about how the divisional rounds have shaken up. NBA will look back on the weekend's games and look ahead to tonight's game. Same for college basketball. We'll preview and predict the college football national championship game tonight between Alabama and Ohio State. And my best bet of the day. All right, we'll start with the NFL wildcard weekend. Oh, what a weekend it was. We had one kick-ass awesome game and some entertaining games and then some blowouts. And a lot of unpredictability as well. All right, Saturday afternoon, Bills over the Colts 27-24 as the Bills advance to the divisional round. They win their first playoff game in 25 years, my bad. Josh Allen, 26 of 35, 324 yards and 2 touchdowns. Phillip Rivers, 27 of 46, 309 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rams over the Seahawks, 30-20. Jared Goff was active, but he didn't even start. It was John Wolford that started, and then Wolford wound up getting concussed, or he wound up getting injured, so he leaves the game, and Goff comes in. They should have started Goff. 9 of 19, 155 yards and a touchdown for Goff. Russell Wilson, a pedestrian, 11 of 27, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. And Wolford was only 3 of 6 for 29 yards. And with John Wolford, he left the game with a neck injury. So I don't think you'll see him regardless because Jared Goff came in and looked like the Jared Goff we saw from a couple of years ago that led the Rams to a division title and then a Super Bowl. And then the primetime game on Saturday, the Bucs over Washington 31-23. As the Bucs advance to the divisional round. Tom Brady, 22 of 40, 381 yards and 2 touchdowns. Taylor Heinicke played very well with Washington. 26 of 44, 306 yards, a touchdown, the pick. We did not expect Heinicke to be the starter because at the last second they decided not to play Alex Smith, who was dealing with the calf injury. And Heinicke on the ground, by the way, 6 carries, 46 yards, and a rush touchdown. So Heinicke looked very good. We'll see how Washington evaluates itself in the offseason with the quarterbacks. We'll talk about the teams that were eliminated and what's next for them in the offseason on the podcast on Tuesday. Sunday, Ravens over the Titans 20-13 as Lamar Jackson gets his first playoff win. 17 of 24, 179 yards and a pick. 16 carries, 136 yards and a touchdown. Ryan Tannehill, 18 of 26, 165 yards, a touchdown, and one costly interception at the end of the game, which Marcus Peters made the interception, and Baltimore hangs on for the win. Saints over the Bears, 21-9. The Saints didn't really have to do much in this one. They advanced to the division round. Drew Brees, 28 of 39. 265 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mitchell Trubisky, 19 of 29, 199 yards and a touchdown. So the Saints move on to the next round. And this was a crazy game, this last game of the wild card weekend. Browns over the Steelers, 48-37. The Browns were up 28-0 at the end of the first quarter. And the Steelers, quite frankly, couldn't recover from that. Couldn't recover from the slow start. They had 5 turnovers in the game. And they still put up 37 points. That's just impressive by my standards. Baker Mayfield was spectacular. 21 of 34, 263 yards and 3 touchdowns. Ben Roethlisberger, on the other hand, was not. Although he put up a big yardage number. 47 of 68, 501 yards, 4 touchdowns. But 4 interceptions. And a couple costly ones. And the first play of the game was very reminiscent of Super Bowl 44 between the Broncos and the Seahawks. except that play turned into a safety, and this one actually was a touchdown. The ball went over the quarterback's head, the snap, and then, like I said, the Broncos one turned out to be a safety, and this one turned out to be a fumble recovery touchdown by Carl Joseph. So, yeah, this was ugly, but at the same time, the Steelers made it interesting at times to the point that people were saying, same old Browns, classic Steelers, but not so fast. The Browns win, and the Steelers go home. All right, so your divisional round matchups in the AFC, you have the Browns at the Chiefs. So you got Baker Mayfield against Patrick Mahomes. We'll see if the Browns have success against the Chiefs with their offense against the Chiefs' defense. And then Ravens-Bills is a great one in the divisional round. You have Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, two of the premier quarterbacks taken in the 2018 draft. And then you have Baker in the playoffs as well. So you got 3 quarterbacks from that draft class in the postseason this year and still alive in the divisional round. And then on the NFC side, you have the Rams and the Packers, so Jared Goff against Aaron Rodgers. And then you have an awesome quarterback matchup between Drew Brees and Tom Brady as the Saints will host the Bucs. So I'd say 2 very marquee games in the Bills and the Ravens and the Saints and the Bucs. And then you have 2 games that could have entertainment and potential with the Packers and the Rams and the Browns and the Chiefs. So it should be a fun divisional round matchup. Rams-Packers is the Saturday early game or the late afternoon game, and then the Saturday primetime game is Ravens-Bills. And then you have the Sunday 3 o'clock game on CBS. You have the Browns at the Chiefs. And then the Sunday evening game, you have the Brady-Breeze matchup. And that's probably going to be the Joe Buck-Troy Aikman game. And then the Nance-Romo game will probably be Browns-Chiefs. And then NBC, I think, has the Saturday night game. So that'll be Al and Chris. And then Rams-Packers will probably be Kevin Burkhardt and Charles Davis. So that's my predictions as of right now for the broadcasts for next weekend. Now we'll go over the NBA games from the weekend. And we will look ahead to tonight's games. There are some interesting results in the association, so we'll go through them all. Friday, Pistons over the Suns, 110-105 in overtime. That was a surprising upset. Detroit's 2-7. Phoenix 6-3. Celtics over the Wizards, 116-107. Celtics 7-3. Wizards 2-7. Hornets over the Pelicans, 118-110. LaMelo outplayed Lonzo in that one. Charlotte 4-5. New Orleans 4-5. Thunder over the Knicks, 101-89. The Thunder 5-4. Knicks 5-5. Rockets over the Magic, 132-90. Houston 3-4. Orlando 6-3. Grizzlies over the Nets, 115-110. Grizzlies 3-6. Brooklyn 5-5. Jazz over the Bucks, 131-118. One of the more impressive wins anybody's had this season. Utah 5-4. Milwaukee 5-4. Warriors over the Clippers, 115-105. Stephen Curry was amazing. Looked like the Steph of old. 5-4. Clippers 6-4. Lakers over the Bulls, 117-115. Lakers 7-3. Chicago 4-6. And the Raptors over the Kings, 144-143. Toronto 2-6. Sacramento 4-5. Saturday, Nuggets over the 76ers, 115-103. Obviously, the Sixers were missing some key players, including Joel Embiid. And I believe Tobias Harris as well, because of health and safety. As the Nuggets go to 4-5, Philly 7-3. Hornets over the Hawks, 113-105. Hornets 5-5, Hawks 4-5. Suns over the Pacers, 125-117. Phoenix 7-3. Indy 6-3. Heat over the Wizards, 128-124. The Heat 4-4. Washington 2-8. Bucks over the Cavaliers, 100-90. Bucks 6-4. Cleveland 5-5. Spurs over the Timberwolves 125-122 in overtime. The Spurs 5-4, Minnesota 2-7. Mavericks over the Magic 112-98. The Magic dropped to 6-4. Dallas is 5-4, so the Mavericks have turned it on a little bit. Blazers over the Kings 125-99. Blazers 5-4, Kings 4-6. Sunday, Jazz over the Pistons 96-86. Jazz 6-4, Pistons 2-8. Clippers over the Bulls 130-127. Clippers 7-4, Chicago 4-7. Thunder over the Nets 129-116. Thunder 5-4, Nets 5-6. Nuggets over the Knicks 114-89. Nuggets 5-5, Knicks 5-5. Lakers over the Rockets 120-102. Lakers 8-3, Houston 3-5. Timberwolves over Spurs 96-88. So the Timberwolves get revenge. They're 3-7. San Antonio 5-5. And the Warriors over the Raptors 106-105. Golden State 6-4. Toronto 2-7. And Heat Celtics postponed due to the Heat having under the number of eligible players for their game due to COVID. They had an inconclusive positive. Jason Tatum tested positive over the weekend, so he's going to be out for 2 weeks. That's a huge loss for the Boston Celtics. The Celtics are lucky they got off to that 7-3 start. That's all I got to say, because Jason Tatum's their best player. Although Jaylen Brown has played the best so far, but Jason Tatum's still their best player. All right, so tonight you have 8 games. 7 o'clock, Knicks Hornets. My projection for this game is Knicks 1.5, total 212. Meanwhile, FanDuel has Charlotte 4.5, total to 11.5, so the total is pretty close. I'm taking the Knicks plus the points. The Knicks have not been the same team their last 2 games. Granted, Oklahoma City, they've been a surprise like the Knicks and have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and then the Knicks just couldn't contain Jokic. And the reality is that they're just not a good offensive team. Their defense is pretty good, but I don't think the Hornets are very good. So give me the Knicks plus 4.5 and plus 160 straight up. I think the Knicks will bounce back and get back above 500 on the season. Next up, you have the Grizzlies and the Cavaliers. My projection is Cavaliers 4.5, total to 10. Meanwhile, it's Cavaliers 1, total to 12.5. I'm laying the 1 with the Cavs. No Ja Morant, no win for the Grizzlies, so I'm laying the 1 with the Cavaliers. Milwaukee, Orlando, my projection is Milwaukee 4, total to 24.5. Meanwhile, it's Milwaukee 8.5. We don't have a total yet. I'm taking Orlando plus the points. I think that the Magic will stay in this one. No, they won't win outright. I just think that they'll keep this game close. Phoenix and Washington, my projection is Phoenix 7.5, total 229. Meanwhile, it is Phoenix 6.5, and we don't have a total yet. I'll probably take the under if the total comes out and it's higher than 230.5. But as of now, I take the Suns. 76ers Hawks. My projection is Philly 2.5, total 223.5. Meanwhile, it's Hawks 6.5. So it looks like Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid won't play again in this game. So looks like Ben Simmons won't be there as well. So no Ben Simmons and no have all these players, but Ben Simmons, it's injury related, not COVID related. So I have to do some adjustments on the fly. I didn't realize that Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris were out of this game. Those 2 players combined are worth 5.5 points. So I have to make an adjustment here on the fly. So now my projection is Hawks by 3, total 223.5. So I'd still take the Sixers. That's too many points for Atlanta. As crazy as that sounds. But I'm probably going to go with the total, depending on what that is. But, yeah, is even Danny Green out as well? And I don't know if Seth Curry's worth anything to the spread, is he? Yeah, half point, so got to move that to 3.5. So they still have an edge on Philly. So I'm still going to take Philly in the points, but that's just too many points for the Hawks to be giving despite all these players out for Philadelphia. So give me the Sixers, and that I know is such a terrible, terrible pick. Next up, you have New Orleans against Dallas at 8:30 on NBA TV. So Zion against Luka. My projection is Dallas 3.5 total to 14.5. Kristaps Porzingis is supposed to be back for this one. Dallas is a 4-point favorite. We don't have a total out yet. But if the total comes out to anything below to 12.5, I'm going to take the over. And if it comes out to anything above 216, I'm going to take the under. Because this line is very close to where I need it to be. Or not want it to be, but like it's very close to what I have it at. 10 o'clock, Raptors, Trailblazers. My projection is Blazers 4.5 total, 229. Meanwhile, Blazers 5 total, 230.5. I have no choice but to take the under. That makes me cringe because my numbers are so close there. And last but not least, you have the Kings hosting the Pacers. My projections, Pacers 3.5 total, 229. Meanwhile, Pacers 5.5 total, 226.5. So I have a 2-point edge on the Kings and a 2.5-point edge on the over. I feel better about the over here because the Kings have just given up a lot of points. Although they've been in games, they've just been giving up a lot of points. So give me over 226.5 between the Pacers and the Kings for tonight. Now I'll move on to college basketball. I'll go over the games from the weekend and look ahead to the games that are being played tonight. So we'll start Friday. Milwaukee over IUPUI 90-70 or 94-70. Quinnipiac over Manhattan 84-79 in double overtime. Long Island over St. Francis, Pennsylvania 71-58. Sacred Heart over Merrimack 68-62. St. Francis, Brooklyn over Mount St. Mary's 67-55. Bryant over Central Connecticut State 76-64. Ryder over Niagara 76-70. Green Bay over Oakland 84-81 in overtime. Liberty over Kennesaw State 69-63. Coastal Carolina over South Alabama 78-65. App State over Georgia Southern 66-63. Toledo over Ohio 95-78. Purdue over number 23 Michigan State 55-54. Youngstown State over Wright State 74-72. Purdue Fort Wayne over UIC 96-89 in overtime. Cleveland State over Northern Kentucky 58-44. Stetson over North Alabama 86-77. Jacksonville over North Florida 66-65. Lipscomb over Bellarmine 77-72. Louisiana over Little Rock 66-64. Texas Arlington over UL Monroe 77-64. FIU over Middle Tennessee 68-55. Old Dominion over FAU 71-67. North Texas over UTSA 77-70. Hawaii over UC Riverside 88-83. Stephen F. Foster over Midwest 87-71. UAB over Southern Miss 72-60. Boise over Air Force 80-69. South Dakota over UMKC 66-64. Western Kentucky over Louisiana Tech 66-64. Utah Valley over Cal Baptist 77-50. Grand Canyon over Tarleton 75-72. Long Beach State over Cal State Fullerton 82-80. North Dakota over Oral Roberts, 72-71. South Dakota State over Western Illinois, 83-77. North Dakota State over Omaha, 71-69. Utah State over New Mexico, 82-46. Fresno over San Jose State, 79-64. UTEP over Rice, 101-89. Dayton over Davidson, 89-78 in overtime. And Cal State Bakersfield over Cal Poly, 62-49. Saturday, a ton of games. Number 7, Creighton over St. John's, 97-79. Ohio State over Rutgers, 15 Rutgers, 79-68. Number 21, Duke over Wake Forest, 79-68. Milwaukee over IUPUI, 71-63. Richmond over George Mason, 77-57. Miami over NC State, 64-59. Alabama over Auburn, 94-90. UMass Lowell over Hartford, 71-62. Northeastern over Hofstra, 67-56. Number 4, Texas over number 14, West Virginia, 72-70 on a game-winning jumper three-pointer by Andrew Jones. Emotional win for Texas as Andrew Jones, who survived cancer, obviously, hits the game-winning shot. Winthrop over Gardner-Webb, 75-65. South Florida over East Carolina, 69-63. Mississippi State over Vanderbilt, 84-81. Citadel over Chattanooga, 92-87. Miami of Ohio over Northern Illinois, 70-58. Charleston over Drexel, 61-60. Number 9, Tennessee over Texas A&M, 68-54. Number 22, Virginia over Boston College, 61-49. Navy over Lehigh, 69-61. Eastern Michigan over Akron, 79-59. Or 71-59. Morgan State over Norfolk State, 78-74. Seton Hall over DePaul, 76-68. Evansville over Illinois State, 57-48. Missouri State over Valparaiso, 81-68. Monmouth over Marist, 80-64. Rhode Island over VCU, 83-68. Duquesne over Fordham, 48-45. Vermont over Binghamton, 76-60. UMBC over New Hampshire, 69-54. NGIT over Maine, 63-54. William and Mary over Delaware, 67-62. Montana State over Northern Colorado, 76-74 in overtime. Idaho State over Northern Arizona, 76-70. Southern Utah over Idaho, 83-67. Number 2, Baylor over TCU, 67-49. Cal over Washington, 84-78. Army over Holy Cross, 83-68. Wright State over Youngstown State, 93-55. Hampton over UNC Asheville, 73-71. Coastal Carolina over South Alabama, 83-69. Lamar over Houston Baptist, 71-65. Northwest Nazarene over Portland State, 75-72. That's a surprising upset. Arkansas over Georgia, 99-69. Number 11, Houston over Tulane, 71-50. Number 15, Texas Tech over Iowa State, 91-64. Siena over Fairfield, 74-58. Montana over Whitworth, 84-67. UConn over Butler, 72-60. Manhattan over Quinnipiac, 45-42. Colorado State over UNLV, 83-80. Niagara over Rider, 66-55. UMass over LaSalle, 83-67. Lafayette over Bucknell, 83-60. Morehead State over Jacksonville State, 56-55. App State over Georgia Southern, 77-71. UTSA over North Texas, 77-69. Kent State over Western Michigan, 80-54. Number 6, Kansas over Oklahoma, 63-59. Bowling Green over Central Michigan, 93-65. Stanford over Washington State, 75-60. Northwestern State over McNeese, 78-75. Kentucky over Florida, 76-58. Purdue Fort Wayne over UIC, 88-55. Green Bay over Oakland, 87-78. Belmont over Tennessee Martin, 89-69. Austin Peay over Eastern Illinois, 74-71. Radford over Charleston Southern, 79-64. Liberty over Kennesaw State, 76-47. Lipscomb over Bellarmine, 65-58. St. Vincent State over Central Arkansas, 91-80. Little Rock over Louisiana, 78-76 in overtime. Texas Arlington over UL Monroe, 75-74. UAB over Southern Miss, 68-58. Middle Tennessee over FIU, 67-56. Wofford over UNC Greensboro, 48-45. Buffalo over Ball State, 86-69. St. Joe's over Albany, 67-64. Nichols over Southeast Louisiana, 87-67. Colgate over BU, 86-79. Campbell over Longwood, 64-58. North Florida over Jacksonville, 70-68. Oklahoma State over Kansas State, 70-54. Arkansas Pine Bluff over Alabama State, 91-82. Southern over Grambling, 61-55. UC Irvine over UC San Diego, 79-65. USC over Arizona State, 73-64. Syracuse over Georgetown, 74-69. New Orleans over Incarnate Word, 86-64. Cleveland State over Northern Kentucky, 74-71 in overtime. Eastern Kentucky over Tennessee Tech, 90-80. North Alabama over Stetson, 73-66 in overtime. Louisiana Tech over Western Kentucky, 63-58. FAU loses to Old Dominion, 64-55. Santa Clara over St. Mary's, 66-64. UC Riverside over Hawaii, 70-68. Belle Abbey over Charlotte, 75-72 in overtime. Wow. Number 1, Gonzaga over Portland, 116-88. South Dakota over UMKC, 68-64. Utah Valley over Cal Baptist, 81-77. Grand Canyon over Tarleton, 59-48. Cal State Fullerton over Long Beach State, 75-72 in overtime. Oral Roberts over North Dakota, 74-57. North Dakota State over Omaha, 80-66. South Dakota State over Western Illinois, 92-63. LSU over Ole Miss, 75-61. Seattle over St. Martin's, 98-63. UCLA over Arizona, 81-76. San Diego State over Nevada, 69-67. Rice over UTEP, 71-68. Number 17, Oregon over Utah, 79-73. And Cal State Bakersfield over Cal Poly, 67-50. Yesterday's results. Xavier over Providence, 74-73. UMBC over New Hampshire, 68-66. Winthrop over Gardner-Webb, 91-83. UNC Asheville over Hampton, 85-77. Harvard over UMass Lowell, 75-58. Charleston over Drexel, 73-68. Florida A&M over South Carolina State, 70-68. James Madison over Chowan, 100-76. Norfolk State over Morgan State, 89-85. Illinois State over Evansville, 78-63, or 73-68, my bad. Missouri State over Valpo, 78-68. Monmouth over Marist, 72-62. Vermont over Binghamton, 84-44. Maine over NJIT, 45-41. Number 5, Iowa over number 16, Minnesota, 86-71. Navy over Lehigh, 73-58. Holy Cross over Army, 70-61. Siena over Fairfield, 75-68. Northern Iowa over Bradley, 78-72. Radford over Charleston Southern, 68-48. Wichita State over Cincinnati, 82-76. Number 19, Virginia Tech over Notre Dame, 77-63. Indiana over Nebraska, 84-76. Lafayette over Bucknell, 87-76. Colgate over Boston University, 89-45. Longwood over Campbell, 78-69. Indiana State over Loyola Chicago, 76-71. Loyola Marymount over San Francisco, 68-60. Fresno State over San Jose State, 80-65. And last but not least, Maryland upsets number 12 Illinois, 66-63. Now on to today's slate. Not many games, obviously due to the fact that tonight's a huge game in college football. So without further ado, here we go. First up, at 3 o'clock, you have Temple against SMU. My projection is SMU by 23.5, and it's SMU by 11.5. I'm going to lay an 11.5 with SMU against Temple. 6 o'clock, South Carolina State and Florida A&M. My projection is Florida A&M by 16.5, and it's 14.5. I'm going to lay to 14.5 for Florida A&M at a juiced minus 118. Fox Sports 1, UConn DePaul. My projection is UConn 23.5, and it's UConn 5.5. I'm going to lay to 5.5 at UConn at minus 106. Colorado, Utah. My projection is Colorado by a half, and it's Colorado 3.5. I'm going to take Utah plus the 3.5 at a very juiced minus 120. 7 o'clock, Loyola Chicago, Indiana State. My projection is Loyola Chicago 7, and it's 6.5. The total is 138.5, and I'm going to take the under 138.5 at minus 108. Alcorn, Grambling. My projection is Grambling by 13, an hour in the 7:30 slate. And it's only that one game. And Grambling is favored. I don't see a line here for this game on FanDuel, but ESPN has it at 7. So I'm going to lay the 7 with Grambling. Bradley in Northern Iowa at 8 o'clock. My projection is Northern Iowa by 1, and it's 2.5 for Northern Iowa. Total's 137.5, and I'm going to take yet again another Missouri Valley under. This time 137.5 at a valuable number at minus 106. Texas Southern against Prairie View. My projection is Texas Southern 16 minutes. Prairie View by 1.5. I'm taking Texas Southern plus 1.5 and plus 114 straight up. And by the way, plus 1.5 is minus 104. At 9 o'clock on CBS Sports Network, Boise State, Wyoming. My projection is Boise 12. It is Boise 7.5. I'm going to lay to 7.5 with Boise at minus 118 against Wyoming for tonight. I forgot to promote this in the beginning of the show, but I am going to do my right wing rankings prior to the start of the NHL season, which begins on Wednesday. And by the way, tomorrow night I'm dropping the solo podcast for predictions. So stay tuned for that. 124, Nick Kamano, Stars. 123, Alexander Barbanov, Maple Leafs. 122, Linus Sandin, Flyers. 121, Tage Thompson, Sabres. 120, Daniel Sprong, Capitals. 119, Carson Coleman, Bruins. 118, Austin Wagner, Kings. 117, Nick Merkley, Devils. 116, Brandon Sutter, Canucks. 115, David Backes, Ducks. 114, Owen Tippett, Panthers. 113, Julian Gauthier, Rangers. 112, Mason Appleton, Jets. 111, Stefan Noesen, Sharks. 110, Noah Gregor, Sharks. 109, Josh Levo, Flames. 108, Tobias Ryder, Sabres. 107, Martin Furk, Kings. 106, Dylan Dubé, Flames. 105, Garnet Hathaway, Capitals. 104, Colton Skeever, Penguins. 103, Leo Komarov, Islanders. 102, Kevin Rooney, Rangers. 101, Austin Watson, Senators. 100, Alexander Volkov, Lightning. 99, Michael McLeod, Devils. 98, Troy Terry, Ducks. 97, Josh Archibald, Oilers. 96, Emil Bemstrom, Blue Jackets. 95, Nick Jukstad, Wild. 94, Philip Tomasino, Predators. 93, Ryan Hartman, Wild. 92, Valeri Niskanen, Avalanche. 91, Sam Gagner, Red Wings. 90, Louis Eriksson, Canucks. 89, Bobby Ryan, Red Wings. 88, Ryan Reeves, Golden Knights. 87, Joel Armia, Canadiens. 86, Blake Comeau, Stars. 85, Christian Fisher, Coyotes. 84, Jesse Puljuvari, Oilers. 83, Drake Batherson, Senators. 82, Nicholas Aube-Kubel, Flyers. 81, Alex Nylander, Blackhawks. 80, Brock McGinn, Hurricanes. 79, Jack Roslovic, Jets. 78, Brandon Tanev, Penguins. 77, Tyler Pitlick, Coyotes. 76, Jesper Bratt, Devils. 75, Brett Connolly, Panthers. 74, Liam Foudy, Blue Jackets. 73, Dennis Garanov, Stars. 72, Andrej Kos, Bruins. 71, Danton Heinen, Ducks. 70, Oscar Sundqvist, Blues. 69, Evgeny Svechnikov, Red Wings. 68, Jesper Foss, Hurricanes. 67, Wayne Simmons, Maple Leafs. 66, Jeff Carter, Kings. 65, Andrew Shaw, Blackhawks. 64, Jonas Donskoy, Avalanche. 63, Rocco Grimaldi, Predators. 62, Kevin LeBlanc, Sharks. 61, Craig Smith, Bruins. 66, Josh Anderson, Canadiens. 55, Blake Coleman, Lightning. 58, Anthony Duclair, Panthers. 57, Cal Clutterbuck, Islanders. 56, Dustin Brown, Kings. 55, Jake Virtanen, Canucks. 54, Brandon Saad, Avalanche. 53, Luke Kunin, Predators. 52, Martin Nesas, Hurricanes. 51, Zach Kazin, Oilers. 50, Tyler Johnson, Lightning. 49, Alex Tuck, Golden Knights. 48, Connor Brown, Senators. 47, Matt Zuccarello, Wild. 46, Patrick Hornquist, Panthers. 45, Tyler Toffoli, Canadiens. 44, Robert Thomas, Blues. 43, Tom Wilson, Capitals. 42, David Perron, Blues. 41, Cam Atkinson, Blue Jackets. 40, Kyle Palmieri, Devils. 39, Pavel Vucinovic, Rangers. 38, Anthony Mantha, Red Wings. 37, Josh Bailey, Islanders. 36, Oliver Bjorkstrand, Blue Jackets. 35, Dylan Strome, Blackhawks. 34, Evgeny Dadonov, Senators. 33, Brian Rust, Penguins. 32, Capo Kakko, Rangers. 31, Kasperi Kapanen, Penguins. 30, Timo Meier, Sharks. 29, Brendan Gallagher, Canadiens. 28, Victor Ivritin, Predators. 27, Kevin Fiala, Wild. 26, Kyle Okposo, Sabres. 25, TJ Oshie, Capitals. 24, Phil Kessel, Coyotes. 23, Sam Reinhart, Sabres. 22, Riley Smith, Golden Knights. 21, Clayton Keller, Coyotes. 20, Jacob Silverberg, Ducks. 19, Brock Besser, Canucks. 18, William Nylander, Maple Leafs. 17, Jacob Voracek, Flyers. 16, Jordan Eberle, Islanders. 15, Elias Lindholm, Flames. 14, Teuvo Teravainen and Hurricanes. 13, Travis Kelce, Flyers. 12, Kyler Yamamoto, Oilers. 11, Patrick Laine, Jets. 10, Alexander Radulov, Stars. 9, Mark Stone, Golden Knights. 8, Vladimir Tarasenko, Blues. 7, Matthew Tkachuk, Flames. 6, Mitch Marner, Maple Leafs. 5, Mikko Rantanen, Avalanche. 4, Blake Wheeler, Jets. 3, David Pastrnak, Bruins. 2, Patrick Kane, Blackhawks. And number 1, Nikita Kucherov, Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, Kucherov's out for the regular season, but he'll be back for the postseason. As far as I'm concerned, Nikita Kucherov won the Hart Trophy 2 years ago and had an amazing year last year, so he gets the honor of the top right wing this year. And, oh, by the way, he's a reigning Stanley Cup champion as well. All right, so there I have it, the right wing rankings. And as I mentioned at the top of this segment, that tomorrow night I'll drop the solo podcast with the hockey prediction. So stay tuned for that. Now I'm going to preview and predict tonight's college football national championship game between Alabama and Ohio State. These two teams met up in the Sugar Bowl 6 or 7 years ago. I want to say it was 6 years ago. It was the first year of the college football playoff, and Cardell Jones really broke out onto the scene, and so did Ezekiel Elliott, as they defeated Alabama that year. And that Alabama team was pretty good. They had Amari Cooper. Derrick Henry was on that team. So they had some good players on that team, but Ohio State was just more talented that year. My projections for this game: Alabama by 5.5 total, 63.5. Meanwhile, as of right now, FanDuel has it at Alabama 8.5 total, 74.5. My play for this game is the under. I have a big edge on the under. And the under is minus 108. So again, some value there. I could see this being 37-30. And by the way, that is still an under. 40-33 is still an under. 40-34 is still under. I just don't see both teams into the 40s. But maybe this bites me in the ass and one team's in the 40s and the other team is in the 34. Over 34 points. But I just think that this game is going to be close and it's going to be competitive. I think that Mac Jones and Justin Fields will both be awesome in this game. I think that it's going to be a really, really fun game. Obviously, you have talent on both sides. You have Najee Harris for Alabama at the running back position. Jalen Waddle, there's rumors that he might play after it was thought that he was done for the year. If I'm Alabama, I don't play Jalen Waddle. You don't need Jalen Waddle tonight. I think that's absolutely nuts that Jalen Waddle might play. And then you have, obviously, Devontae Smith, who is the best wide receiver in college football. You have Trey Sermon, Chris Olave, Jahleel Bingsley, Jeremy Ruckert. And Jalen Waddle, by the way, for first touchdowns, 12-1. And you have Jackson Smith-Njigba, Slade Bolden, Jeremy Ruckert. And obviously, I mentioned Harrison Simone. Brian Robinson Jr. is a good running back as well. So, like I said, it's going to be a great game. I don't think Bama needs Jalen Waddle personally because their offense is good enough without him. But to me, it comes down to defense and which defense will get bigger stops. And the defense I believe in more is Alabama's. So I'm going to take, for my play for the podcast, under 74.5. Ohio State plus 8.5 I take as well. But ultimately, Alabama's better, as I think that Bama will win this game. I'm going to say 37-31 Alabama, and I think that there's a shot this game goes into overtime. So give me 37-31 Alabama, and everybody's going to be saying Roll Tide. So give me Alabama for the win, but the play is going to be under 74.5 and Ohio State plus 8.5, but the under is the main podcast play for the big game tonight. Now I'm going to do my best bet of the day, brought to you by FanDuel. I'm just going to take the under in Bama Ohio State. I like it that it's so valuable at minus 108. I'm going to double down on it. I think that Alabama will get enough stops to for this under to hit, and I think that even Ohio State can get some stops as well. Like I said, 37-31 I think is a very realistic final score. Maybe it's 40-33. Maybe it's 38-31. 39-31 would work. So give me under 74.5. I just think that's ridiculously high, and I think that Saban will make sure his defense isn't that horrific to the point where it goes over. So that's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping the national title game and college basketball and NBA, and looking ahead to tomorrow's games in college basketball and NBA. And I'll do my top 100 NHL players rankings on the podcast tomorrow as well, and discuss what's next for the 6 teams that were eliminated over the weekend in the NFL. Hope you guys have a great day, everybody.